Nick writes in, recently I was watching the 1987 classic film Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close, and I noticed something very interesting. I like to pay attention to who works as the art director on each film I see, since that is the industry I work in. And for this particular film, the art director was a man with the curious name Mel Bourne. The reason I was so shocked is that that name is spelled identically to the famous Australian city of Melbourne, except with a space inserted into it to make it an aesthetically pleasing first and surname. This got me wondering, are there any famous American cities that would make a pleasant name for a person were an inner word space inserted somewhere? This question immediately hits a wall, though, since by turn of fate, many famous cities were named after people with common English or French or German place name suffixes added. For example, Charlestown, South Carolina could conceivably be split into the name Charlestown, but I contend that this is not as aesthetically pure since the name Charlestown is already a combination of the name of King Charles II and just the suffix town added to it.
Yeah.
I have to say this left me stumped. Can you or any of your listeners help think of an American city that would fit this amazing phenomenon?
Before we continue, John, and before you present your list, I would like to let everybody know that for the record, Mel Bourne, who does have a Wikipedia page and who was an American production designer and art director who died at age 79 in the year 2003, was actually born Melvin Bornstein. And so Mel Bourne was not his birth name. So let's keep that in mind going forward. Now, John, you have generated a list.
Did you think it was really his birth name?
I thought it's
pretty darn close, though.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. But it also just seemed too clever by half. You know, it felt like a professional name. You know how sometimes, John, if you watch a pornographic movie, the actors and actresses are not, those names that they have are not actually their names they were born with. Okay.
Example?
Let's keep it old school, man. Christy Canyon. Let's take it back to the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
OG, Christy Canyon. Not her birth name. And then there's all other sorts of names that you can let your imagination run wild with. And so when I saw Mel Bourne, I was like, this feels a little like a porno name. This feels like this is not his real name.
Yeah.
So it's actually Melvin Bornstein. Now it was close, you're right, but it was probably so close that he was like, if I'm going to make a go of it as a production designer in Hollywood, I'm going to tighten up my name and make it something catchy that people will remember. Now, having said all that, John, why don't you read your insane list of names that you came up with?
This is the list.
These are the worst names.
I know, but this is what I came up with. And then I went back and did more research, and I couldn't come up with anything better than this. So, I mean, we have Richmond.
Okay.
How about Winston-Salem?
That feels like cheating to me for some reason. And I think that's because Winston-Salem is already too distinct.
It could be Winston-Salem.
Oh. But what I'm saying is the source material, Winston-Salem, is already two names. And I think what the listener wants is a one-name city where you put...
All right. Okay, how about Houston?
We're still not quite...
Davenport.
Davenport works. I could see that.
Francisco? Nah.
Francisco doesn't quite work, and also you're leaving out San, and I think you have to have the whole city in there.
Albuquerque.
Yeah, that's definitely legit, because that's a real normal last name, Buquerque.
You don't know any Buquerques?
My name is Alvin Buquerque, but you can call me Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And no, I wasn't born in New Mexico. Come on. I don't know about that one.
Okay. I put in Caltech for you.
That's fine, because that's my old nickname, but it doesn't really work.
Albany.
So we take New York's capital of Albany and we put a space in it and we get Albany. I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10. I give that one a 6 out of 10.
Annapolis. Or how about Annapolis?
Annapolis. That's it. 8 out of 10.
Okay. Philadelphia.
Next.
Terrible.
That's a 2 out of 10. No one's last name is Adelphia.
Anuga. What about Anuga?
You know what it could be? It could be Phil A. Delphia.
Oh, that's great.
Philip Astor Delphia. That almost seems like a real name, doesn't it? A fancy man. Guy who travels with his own white napkin. So even if he's at a grimy pizzeria, he can still dab his lips with a nice linen napkin.
Yeah.
What was the next one?
Chad Anuga. Chad A. Nuga.
That doesn't work because it's Chat Anuga.
I know. So I just work with me.
0 out of 10. Sorry,
Bill
bro.
Ings.
Say that one again.
Bill Ings.
Bill Ings, I would give a 6 out of 10. I could almost see that being a real name.
Boston.
No, I don't. No, it doesn't. No.
Mm.
Sorry.
That's it. That's all I could.
I think the best one you came up with is Davenport. I can see that guy. He's cool, Davin. Right?
Yeah.
You're at a bar. Hey, when's the last time anyone heard from Davin? And they'd be like, oh, didn't you hear? He joined the Merchant Marines. He thought it would be funny because his last name is Port. So he was like, I'll just be a guy who goes around from port to port. And everyone will laugh and be like, Davin was always the coolest. And then we raise our glasses and we say, to Davin. Then
I'll be right back. Sorry.
All right. John's got to go feed his dog or something. I'll keep telling my story about Davenport. So we all raise our glasses and make a toast to Davin, the free-spirited guy that we always loved hanging out with in high school. And then right as we raise our toast, what comes on the jukebox? Now, 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 now. I was bad to the bone. Down, now, now, now. Since the day I've been born. And it's Davin. He showed up right at the moment we were toasting him. And he put bad to the bone on the jukebox. And he walks over and he's like, hey, did someone say my name, Davenport? And he's back in town after being in the Merchant Marines. They say, what have you been up to? He's like, oh, I've just been out in the ocean tracking Chinese weather balloons. And we're like, Davin, you are forever the coolest dude. And then he leaves again because we're not cool enough to hang out with him. But he did pay for our round of drinks, which was very decent of him. We would expect nothing less from Mr. Davenport.
Oh, I just thought of another one. Cal Gary.
Cal Gary is great. Put that on the list.
Vancouver?
6 out of 10. Something about Coover doesn't convince me as a surname. Right. Coover. You know?
Me.
Yes, 10 out of 10. Okay. Mia Me. That's a good name. All right. John, at the risk of alienating our listeners, I'm going to cut this segment short.
Okay.
Oh, I want to say one thing. We might not do an episode next week because